I'm Valeria Monroe, 37 years old, born and raised in a small town near Kansas City, the kind of place where every house looked like a neatly folded cardboard box and every family had one child to be proud of. I wasn't that child. I was the middle of three. My sister, Felicity, 2 years older, was known as the brightest star at Franklin High, with a resume so stacked my dad used to joke, we should frame her instead of buying wall art. My younger brother, Dylan, 4 years my junior, was the golden boy, doted on since diapers, wrapped in my mother's gaze like a favorite blanket. And me? I was the space between them. Not gifted enough to earn praise, not young enough to protect, I just existed. In the framed family photos around the house, I was always half-turned, partially blocked, or awkwardly cropped out. Some photos I wasn't sure I was even in. For Felicity's birthdays, my mom baked two-tier cakes, hand-wrote invitations, and wrapped gifts with satin bows. For mine, she'd buy a grocery store cake, stick 2 candles in, and say, let's keep it simple, less mess. Strangely, she used to be close to me. When I was in second grade and purposely left out of a classmate's water park party, Mom laid out a blanket in the backyard, cut watermelon into stars, baked homemade chocolate chip cookies, and threw a secret picnic just for the two of us. She whispered, "You're a gift I chose for myself. They didn't invite you because they're not lucky enough to see how wonderful you are." I believed that for years. When I won third place in a sixth-grade Earth model contest, tiny next to Felicity's first-place state math title, Mom still framed my certificate and hung it beside Felicity's wall of awards. 3 days later, Dad took it down, saying it clutters the wall. Mom didn't argue. She just sighed and tucked it into her nightstand drawer. That small act felt like the world turning its back on me, but she stayed. In 16, when my friends bailed on my birthday to go to a more popular girls' party, Mom drove 2 hours to a theater in Topeka so we could watch The Sound of Music. She wore a navy dress. I wore heels for the first time. After the show, we had dinner at a small Italian restaurant by the river. She ordered penne and looked at me like I was the most important person in the world. "It's not the number of people around you that gives you worth," she said. "It's who's willing to show up for you." That line has stayed with me, like a soft golden light in the corners of memory. But that light began to dim when I turned 18, the year I chose to attend college out of state. I wasn't rebelling, I just needed to find out who I was, outside of Felicity's shadow and Dylan's safety net. "Why not go somewhere closer, like Felicity did?" Dad asked, voice heavy, like I'd rejected our bloodline. Mom said nothing. She only nodded, eyes fixed on her cooling cup of tea. For the first time, she didn't defend me. After that, calls became less frequent, holidays at home grew stiff, and the way Mom looked at me, when she did, no longer had that gentle warmth. I once thought love was something that never changed, but sometimes it's just a ribbon, beautiful but loosely tied. One tug and it slips away. I left Kansas at 18 with 2 suitcases and a full-ride scholarship in software engineering from the University of California, Irvine. The moment I boarded that first-ever flight, I made myself a promise. No matter how many hours I'd have to work, I would never return to being the shadow in my own family. 8 years later, I became the CEO of a startup called Alloy Code, headquartered in San Diego with over 150 employees. The AI project my team developed had just been licensed by a major corporation for a 7-figure deal. I wasn't a genius. I had just worked 20-hour days for 3 straight years, eaten so many instant noodles that I still gag thinking about them. But I did it. I was no longer the invisible middle child. Here, people actually listened when I spoke. Meanwhile, Felicity stayed in Kansas, took over my father's insurance office, lived 4 blocks from our childhood home, married her high school sweetheart, Marcus, and hosted weekend barbecues to build community. Her law degree was tucked away in a drawer, because taking care of family matters more. Dad always said with pride, Felicity's the ideal daughter, always thinks of others first. Dylan, on the other hand, changed majors 3 times in 2 years before dropping out altogether. He moved to Denver, sold cars, tried bartending, then worked as a delivery driver. Once, I offered to help him earn a tech certification for free, and he waved it off, saying, "You've made it. Leave some room for us normal folks." I still don't know if that was sarcasm or resentment. During my occasional calls home, I'd tell mom about our upcoming venture capital meetings in Palo Alto, or the Vietnamese American intern who reminded me of myself a decade ago. She'd mumble, then change the topic to how Felicity was chosen to organize the school fundraiser, or how Dylan was so hardworking for taking night shifts to experience real life. I sent home carefully curated holiday gift baskets filled with local delicacies and souvenirs from business trips. Mom would text back briefly, "Thank you. Very nice." Felicity loved the scarf. I didn't need praise. But her silence, from the same woman who once saved my tiny science fair certificate, made me feel like a number on a spreadsheet. Useful, but unloved. 2 years ago, at a Thanksgiving dinner I had painstakingly arranged to attend, Felicity waited until dessert, lifted her wine glass, and smiled at me. "You know what Mom once said? That if you just slowed down a little, you might have had a family and given her grandkids by now." I smiled stiffly and put down my knife. Are kids for Mom's happiness or for you to feel superior? The room went dead silent. Mom squeezed my hand under the table, as if to comfort me, but said, "Your sister's just worried about you. You live so far away. Your job is so stressful. Do you ever feel tired?" I looked at her, wanting to scream. What about the nights I came home late and still called? The checks I sent? The gifts? Did anyone ever ask if I was tired? After that, our calls became less frequent. The few we had revolved around Felicity's new yoga class, Dylan finding his path, and the neighbors building a new garage. Me? No one asked about the $6.2 million deal I'd just closed. No one mentioned my Forbes feature on top women under 40 on the West Coast. Only one person still texted me every Monday morning. Aunt June, Mom's younger sister. The one who once said, "Valeria, you weren't born to please people. You were born to prove that kindness and strength can exist in the same person." But even she didn't know I had cried after my last call with Mom, because in that indifferent voice, I couldn't find the woman who once drove 2 hours just to see me smile. I discovered my mom's 60th birthday party through a post on Felicity's Instagram. It was a Thursday night, just after I had signed off on the quarterly budget with the finance team and collapsed into the armchair in my 27th floor apartment in San Diego. Scrolling through my phone, a ritual to unwind after long days, I froze at a photo. My mother, Camille. The venue sparkled with lights, packed with familiar faces, relatives, old neighbors, her college friends. Everyone was smiling, except me. I hadn't even been invited. It might have been just a minor sting if it weren't my mother, the same woman who hand-wrote my third-grade birthday invitations, now throwing a grand celebration without so much as a text. I long pressed the photo and zoomed in on the tagged names. I wasn't there. No sign that I had ever existed in that party's plan. Felicity, on the other hand, was tagged at least 4 times, with hashtags like Perfect Big Sis and The Thankful Child. I held back my emotions and waited until the next morning. Then I called Mom. She picked up on the third ring. "Valeria, everything okay?" Her voice sounded odd, not quite surprised, but certainly not thrilled. "I just saw the pictures from your birthday party on Felicity's Instagram." "Oh, it was just a little gathering at a private resort ballroom by Lake Arrowhead with a live band." She went silent. I heard soft footsteps, then the click of a door, probably walking into a quieter room. Then she spoke, slowly. "Felicity said you were very busy with those international projects. She said she messaged you, but you didn't reply. She thought you didn't want to come." My stomach dropped, like I had just slipped off a rotted railing. "I never got a message, and yes, I am busy, but do you really think I wouldn't come for your 60th? You didn't want me there, did you?" Her voice wavered. "That's not true. I just didn't want to pressure you. Felicity said you needed rest." I didn't want to impose. I clenched my teeth. I knew Felicity too well. All her "I thought for you" gestures were always dressed in calculation. This time, it looked like she had pulled it off, erasing me from the family circle while convincing Mom it was my choice. Mom, let me be clear. If I had known, I would have made it work, even if I was in meetings in New York or Tokyo. She exhaled softly, but said nothing more. That silence stung more than any rejection. That night, I spent 3 hours planning a trip that shouldn't have been this complicated. I booked a round-trip flight from San Diego to Wichita Falls, non-stop, business class. It cost nearly $2,000, but I didn't care. I had one thought. If my mother still had any feelings for me, I needed to see it. In person. I spent all Saturday morning picking a gift. Not to prove anything, I just wanted her to know I still remembered the small things she used to love. I chose a handcrafted silk scarf from Italy in olive green with burnt orange patterns, just like the dress she used to wear every Easter. I added a lavender essential oil kit and a wellness retreat gift card to a quiet spa near Palo Duro Canyon, the place she once said she'd visit when no one needs me anymore. It's totaled over $3,500. But what choked me wasn't the cost. It was the fact that I had to try this hard to be seen as her daughter. As the plane touched down in Texas, I felt more uncertain than ever. If she knew I was coming, would she be happy, or would she once again avoid eye contact like all the times before? I arrived at the lakeside estate near Arrowhead around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, just as the early winter sun was warm enough to skip a heavy coat, but still cold enough for the air to carry the familiar scent of pine wood and damp earth. The venue for my mother's birthday was tucked behind rows of blazing red maple trees, decorated with white silk ribbons and balloons reading, "Camille, 60 years of love." From a distance, it looked more like a wedding than a family party. I stepped out of the car holding a gift bag and a box wrapped in ivory handmade paper. Everything I chose held pieces of memory, colors, textures, as if I were trying to preserve one last fragile connection. At the main entrance, the first person I saw was my father, Richard, standing on the front steps in a charcoal gray suit, clipboard in hand like a corporate gatekeeper. His eyes met mine, colder than the winter air skimming the lake. "Valeria?" he asked, as if unsure I was real. "I'm here to wish Mom a happy birthday." He didn't smile. He glanced at the guest list, ran his finger down the page, and shook his head slightly. "You're not on the list. This is a private event for close family only." I froze. Not from the rejection, but from how seamlessly it came. Neat, rehearsed, like a line from a script. I called Mom. She said I could come. Then maybe she said it just to be polite. Your name isn't here, and she's busy entertaining guests. I could feel the stares gathering, familiar faces, old neighbors, distant relatives, watching like spectators at a stage play. Then Felicity appeared. She emerged from the grand hall in a rose quartz dress that practically glowed in the late afternoon sun. Champagne in hand, loose curls framing her smug expression. "You actually came?" I had my doubts. Thought you were too busy running the world in California. "I came to celebrate Mom," I replied, keeping my voice steady. "I spoke to her. She didn't say I'd be turned away." "She didn't invite you directly," Felicity shrugged. "And you didn't RSVP. Just showing up like this? It's awkward, Valeria." I swallowed hard. Talking to them felt like punching into sandbags. No impact, no shift. I looked from my father to Felicity, who had clearly weaponized every word I ever spoke to Mom. "I'm not here to cause trouble. I just want to leave a gift." I raised the bag, hands trembling but eyes firm. My father took it like he would a parcel from the mail. No thanks, no glance. "That'll be fine. Your mother will get it." I looked past him, hoping to catch a glimpse of Mom in the crowd inside. But she wasn't there. I didn't know if she was truly occupied or had chosen to stay behind the curtain of silence. A guest brushed past, murmuring something to their companion. A distant aunt said, loud enough for me to hear, "She still thinks money can buy forgiveness." Felicity didn't hide her smirk. I knew then I wasn't welcome here. "Tell Mom I remember the backyard picnic from years ago," I said, eyes still fixed on my father. "And whatever anyone here thinks, I still hope she has a beautiful birthday." Then I turned and descended the steps, refusing to look back, my spine straight, my eyes dry. Not because I didn't want to cry, but because I knew they were waiting for it. When I closed the car door, my hands shook so badly it took 3 tries to get the key in. I glanced through the rearview mirror toward the estate gates I once thought would open for me. No one followed. No one called my name. I didn't start the engine right away. I rested my head on the steering wheel, eyes drifting to the return ticket to San Diego for early tomorrow morning. I had braced for judgment, tension, even confrontation. But not this perfect silence. It wasn't just rejection, it was erasure, intentional, scripted, complete. I had just started the engine when a light knock startled me from the passenger window. I turned, startled, and saw a tall man with deep brown hair, thin glasses, and a navy mule suit. Uncannily familiar. He gestured politely, his eyes hesitant but not threatening. Rolled the window down about 3/4. "Excuse me, are you Valeria Monroe?" I nodded cautiously. His voice was warm and respectful. "I'm Noah Brennan. I think we've crossed paths, though not formally. I work at Alloy Code, engineering, 6th floor." I froze slightly. Alloy Code? My company. I looked closer, then it clicked. He was Felicity's boyfriend. The one I'd seen in a few photos she'd posted. I'd never paid much attention to him, never imagined this man would one day be standing beside my car, looking like he was carrying 1,000 unspoken truths. "I know this is sudden, but..." Noah glanced around and lowered his voice. "I need to talk to you about what just happened, about Felicity and your mother." I was silent for a few seconds. Logic told me to shut the window and drive away, but instinct, the same instinct that had kept me afloat for years in business, told me this wasn't ordinary. I unlocked the door. Noah stepped in carefully, taking the passenger seat with his hands clenched between his knees. "I'm sorry. I should have said something sooner, but I'm new to all this. I didn't know what was appropriate." I didn't respond, just looked at him. "Last night, during the final prep meeting, I overheard Felicity and Mr. Richard, your father, discuss how to handle it if Valeria shows up. That was his exact phrase. Felicity said, 'She won't dare, unless she wants everyone to think she's making it about herself again.'" I gripped the steering wheel, eyes fixed ahead. "Though they suspected I might come, they did. Felicity said your mom mentioned wanting you there, but she told your mom you were too busy, said you were with clients in Japan." I let out a dry laugh. "I canceled a Tokyo meeting because I thought Mom sincerely wanted to see me." "I believe she did," Noah said quickly, "because this morning, when she asked if I'd seen you, she looked like she was truly hoping you'd show." I turned to look at Noah for the first time. His gaze held steady. "Did Felicity ever tell you I work at Alloy Code?" I shook my head. She knows. But she didn't say I work in engineering. Definitely didn't mention that you run the place." I closed my eyes, feeling a tangled storm of anger and humiliation welling up inside. "It's not your job she resents," he said quietly. "It's that you're the one your mom misses, even from afar. And she's right here every day, but still compared to someone who's not." I gave a bitter smile. "I thought I was the forgotten one." Noah shook his head. "At every meal, whenever someone brings up your name, Felicity changes the subject. She created a different version of you, cold, selfish, successful, but heartless. And everyone believes it because you're not around to speak for yourself." Something cracked inside me. Not fury, but that aching grief of realizing you've been erased from your own family's story by someone you once trusted. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked. Noah bowed his head, hands still clenched. "Because what they did today, it wasn't right. And I don't want to be part of it." Silence settled over the car like a thick fog. I didn't know what to say. At last, I gave a small nod. "Thank you. Maybe my story needs to begin again, on my own terms." "And with the truth," Noah replied. He opened the door, ready to leave, but paused. If you choose to confront them, I'll stand by you, not because I work for you, but because you're the only one here who isn't pretending. I watched him walk away, leaving me alone in the car with a tight chest, but a mind that was finally clearing. They shut me out of the table on my own mother's birthday, but I still have my voice. And if I must, I'll use it to bring the truth back where it belongs. Not for pride, but because my mother deserves to hear it. All of it. From me. I don't remember exactly how I got out of the car. All I know is that by the time I entered the banquet hall with Noah, my heart was pounding so hard I thought it might tear through the fabric of my dress. The soft sound of violins drifted from the upper balcony. Warm golden light illuminated clusters of guests chatting and laughing. I could feel the eyes, dozens of them, turning toward me like a reflex. Some stared in silence. Others whispered, "Is that her? I thought she wasn't coming." And then Felicity turned around. Her smile vanished the moment she saw me. Whatever story she'd been telling over her wine stopped mid-sentence. Her gaze flicked quickly from me to Noah, then back, twitching slightly. I took a deep breath. Before I could speak, Noah stepped forward and raised his voice. Clear, firm enough to reach every corner of the hall. Apologies for the interruption. I just wanted to introduce someone. This is Valeria Monroe, CEO of Alloy Code, and a leader I deeply respect. A hush fell over the room as if someone had dropped a crystal glass. All eyes swung toward me, then toward Felicity, like they had just uncovered a piece of the puzzle they never knew was missing. My mother stood up from the main table, her gaze locking onto mine, not surprised, but stunned. She rushed toward me, abandoning all pleasantries and protocol. Her hands found mine, warm and trembling like the night I fell off my bike as a child. "Valeria, you're here. Why didn't anyone tell me?" I tightened my grip on her hands. "I was here, Mom, but I was stopped at the door." She froze. Her eyes darted toward Felicity. "What? What do you mean?" "Dad wouldn't let me in. Said I wasn't on the guest list. That I didn't belong here." The tension in the hall stretched tight like a violin string. Felicity spoke up, her voice strained. "I just didn't want you to feel uncomfortable after what happened at Thanksgiving everyone remembers." I turned to her. "No, Felicity, I remember clearly. You called me selfish, said I was the daughter who abandoned this family. And you didn't say it to me in private, you said it in front of everyone. And today you lied. Told Mom I was too busy to come, even though I confirmed I'd be here." Felicity's face drained of color. Her eyes welled up, but her mouth stayed firm. "You always act like you're the victim. But I stayed. I carried everything. You just send a few packages and think that's enough? No one forced you to carry that burden, and no one stopped you from building a life. I chose to leave, to stand on my own. But that doesn't mean I abandoned this family. I was pushed out because someone needed me to be the villain to be more loved." The entire hall was silent. Even the string quartet had gone still. Maybe someone had signaled them, maybe not. My mother looked at Felicity, her voice trembling but resolute. "Did you tell me Valeria declined the invitation?" Felicity looked down, lips pressed, eyes red. "You don't know what it's like to live in someone else's shadow. I'm here every day, and still. You always say things like, 'Valeria just signed a huge contract,' or 'She sent me those silk scarves I love.' What about me?" I choked up. For the first time, I didn't see my sister as a rival. I saw a child, tangled in the ache of never feeling enough. But my mother didn't cry. She turned to the crowd. "Please excuse us. My family needs a few moments. The celebration will continue, but we'll step away for now." Without waiting for a response, she grabbed both my hand and Felicity's, leading us through the side door into the private suite. My father followed quietly, his face pale. As soon as the door closed, my mother turned, no longer the soft-spoken Camille, but the woman who once stood between me and cruel classmates at recess. "Richard, did you really block Valeria?" My father hesitated, then nodded. "I just wanted to avoid drama. After Thanksgiving, everyone assumed." "Assumed what?" she snapped, her voice low but fierce. Being a mother doesn't mean sacrificing one child to keep peace with the other. Felicity broke down. I just wanted to be seen, to be chosen just once. My mother looked at us both. Her tears finally came. You are both my children, and I will not let anyone come between you again. Not Felicity, not Richard, not silence. The side room behind the banquet hall, once meant for musicians to rest, had now become a courtroom for decades of tension. The four of us, myself, Felicity, Mom, and Dad, sat around a velvet gray sofa. Noah stood quietly by the door, a silent witness who chose not to walk away. It felt like my entire childhood was being put on trial. Mom spoke first, her voice cutting through the tight silence. Uria, I'm sorry for not calling you back myself when you said you were coming, for letting others do what I should have done. I nodded, my eyes fixed on Felicity. Her hands clenched so tight they'd turned pale. I'm not upset because you didn't send an invitation, I said, my voice steady. I'm upset because it was always assumed I wouldn't come, and then that assumption was used to justify locking me out. Because I said so, I turned to Felicity. You told everyone I chose work over family, that I was too busy to care, but the truth is, I chose a life where I didn't have to dim myself down. That's it. She didn't snap back. Instead, she swallowed hard and admitted, You think I don't know what it feels like to be compared? All through childhood, Mom kept bringing up that programming award you won in 11th grade like it was an Olympic medal. I had to work twice as hard to get 3 A's, and still Mom would say, Why can't you be more like Valeria? She never complains. You were the exceptional one. I was just average. And yes, I was jealous. Her voice cracked. For the first time, Felicity wasn't on the attack. But instead of saying that, you lied, I replied. You kept Mom's diagnosis from me. You suggested not to bother me. You made me believe she didn't need me. Mom, I turned. Are you sick? She went quiet, then nodded. Some short-term memory issues. The doctor calls it mild cognitive impairment. Not serious, but something to watch. I'm on medication. Felicity's been helping. And why didn't anyone tell me? Because you were busy, and Mom glanced at Felicity, she said not to tell. So you wouldn't stress? I froze. Every reason so far had been for me, yet no one had actually asked what I needed. I looked at Dad, who hadn't said a word, stiff as stone, eyes down. And you, Dad, what do you think? He exhaled, like something had torn inside him. I didn't know it had come to this. I thought staying quiet was the best option. You react, Valeria. You push back. I was afraid letting you in would bring another Thanksgiving incident. But today, I know I was wrong. Couldn't believe it. The man who once called all my emotions too much was admitting fault? Maybe I never knew how to be a father to someone like you. Strong, uncompromising. But I'm willing to learn. If you'll let me. I swallowed hard, unable to speak. Mom took my hand, gently. From now on, if I need you, I'll call you. Myself. No more intermediaries. I was wrong to let others speak for me. The room fell into silence. Felicity bowed her head. Her voice was no longer sharp. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to push you away. I was just scared of losing the one place where I still mattered. But I was wrong, deeply wrong. Noah stepped forward, finally speaking. I know I don't have much of a say here, but I showed up today because I believe truth deserves to be heard, whether it comes from an employee or a boyfriend. I chose to stand by what's right, even if it costs me this relationship. Felicity looked at him. There was pain in her eyes, but also gratitude, and perhaps regret. I stood up, faced my family. We really want to heal, then let's stop letting others speak on our behalf. We're grown-ups, we can own our words. Mom nodded, Dad nodded, Felicity too, slowly. No one hugged, no beautiful tears like in the movies. But for the first time in years, I walked out of that room not feeling like the outsider. 2 weeks after that turbulent birthday party, Noah sent an email to HR at Alloy Code requesting a transfer to the product development team, a department not directly under my supervision. The reason filed was to avoid internal conflict of interest. I understood. We never revisited what happened that night, but the way he exited my personal space, quietly, respectfully, leaving no residue, earned more of my respect than any drawn-out conversation ever could. As for me, less than a month later, I was invited by the CEO to a closed-door meeting. On the table was a proposal, a promotion to Vice President of Global Operations, a new position packed with challenges, a packed flight schedule, and triple the pressure, but also the greatest recognition I'd ever received. I didn't need to ask why. I already knew. It wasn't just about performance, but because I had stepped out of silence. I had chosen to confront, not just at work, but also within my family. Mom was the first person I called to share the news. She went quiet for a moment, then said, "Would you like me to visit Boston sometime? Only if you're free, of course." I almost cried at how gently she asked. No demands, no guilt, no expectations, just a tentative offer from someone who once believed I had no more space for her in my life. 3 weeks later, she stepped off the plane at Logan Airport, pulling a small, cream-colored suitcase, wearing a smile that was both gentle and uncertain. I greeted her with a bouquet of yellow tulips, her favorite since I was a child, and held her hand all the way home. I took her for a walk along the Charles River, brought her to the cafe where I review quarterly plans every Saturday morning, and introduced her to my team during an informal office gathering. She was surprised to hear coworkers refer to me as the one who keeps everything running and our official problem solver. But what moved her most was the framed photo by my desk. A younger me, wearing a plain beige dress, hugging a handmade satellite model. "You still keep this?" "Because not everything from the past needs to be erased," I said. A few days later, she offered to cook dinner. My small kitchen was filled, for the first time, with the scent of Southern-style chicken soup, her go-to when I was sick as a kid. As she stirred and seasoned, something settled in my chest, as though all the missing years had been stitched back together by that very aroma. We made a video call home, the first one with all four of us present. My dad, still a bit awkward, asked about the Asian market with genuine curiosity. Dylan sat beside his new girlfriend, cracking jokes. Felicity didn't appear, but the next day I received a short email from her. Just 5 words. "I'm starting therapy this week." I didn't reply right away, but I knew what that meant. She was starting to unravel her own knots. That Thanksgiving, I did something I'd never done before. I hosted, in my own apartment. I rented extra tables and chairs, curated a menu that combined classic American dishes with Southern recipes Mom once taught me, and sent handwritten invitations to every family member. Not emails, not texts, real invitations. I wanted them to know this was sincere, from the heart. Mom arrived first, carrying a homemade pumpkin pie. Dad came later, his first time entering my apartment without commenting on how it's barely big enough for a dog. Dylan brought a mini projector and played old photos that made us laugh and sigh in equal measure. Felicity didn't come, but just as I was slicing the pie, my phone buzzed. A message from her that read, "Thanks for saving me a seat, maybe next year." I smiled. At the end of the evening, when everyone helped clean up, first, my mom stood by the window, gazing down at the city lights. "You know, Valeria, some things feel like they're gone for good, but if you keep believing, they come back. Not the same, but enough to recognize." I wrapped an arm around her shoulder. We're still learning how to be a family mom, but at least this time, we're learning together. By year's end, I booked our first family therapy session with a specialist in Boston. Mom agreed immediately, Dad reluctantly, but still said yes. Dylan texted, "Fine, as long as we're not forced to group hug." I don't know if Felicity will come, but I saved her a seat. Because for the first time, I believe family can be rebuilt, not by blood, but by choice. Through repetition, patience, and forgiveness, one step at a time. Valeria's story is a powerful reminder that you don't have to sacrifice yourself to be accepted by your own family. True recognition doesn't come from silent endurance, it comes from the courage to speak up, tell the truth, and set healthy boundaries. In real life, many people are misunderstood or excluded just for being different. But like Valeria, when you stay true to your values and keep reaching out with sincerity, healing is always possible, even if it comes late. What do you think about Valeria's journey and how she faced her family? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to follow the channel for more heartfelt, real life stories about family, forgiveness, and healing.